Welcome, everyone, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday evening edition. I'm your keeper this evening, SkepTock, and with me I have the Harry Channel, a fine minion of excellent vintage. How you doing, Harry?
Excellent vintage. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's pretty good. And we might get one more, right?
Yes, we might be joined by yet another minion, and I don't want to spoil it for you, so we'll maybe give you a big surprise. So stay tuned, and maybe we'll get joined by this other minion. Who knows?
So there are some minions are vintages, others are from like single barrel.
Exactly.
Others are sort of a blend.
Right. and some are very peaty.
Very peaty. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just depends where on the river the distillery is.
Did you like smoky distilled beverages when you were consuming such things?
Oh God, yes. God, yes. I loved single malt Scotch. I thought it was great.
I was never a huge fan of. Well, I'm still not a huge fan of the really smoky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where like your gosh, I'm trying to remember which part of Scotland. It's Islay, I think, is the one that have the really smoky ones. Your Octomore and your I can't remember all of the names of them because mostly I just avoid those things. The really, really smoky ones.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't appeal to me that much. But
it just it depends on what kind of flavor you want in your, the idea is to flavor the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the name of the game is in the alcohol consumption business. Alcohol by itself does not taste very good, but you can make it taste interesting. And I think it's just a matter of whatever you develop a taste for. Specifically with Scotch. You always hear that Scotch is an acquired taste. It's not a naturally attractive flavor. If it was, you would be able to keep alcohol-free Scotch in stock. Kids love the taste of Scotch. No, they don't. No,
with that great taste of peat that kids love.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a much more mature flavor. It's something that the kids really can't appreciate that. Huh? Now, I say that I was swilling wine at school in the 3rd grade. So
you were in Europe.
We're in Europe, and they give you this watered-down wine. I mean, this is not terribly long. It's 15 years after World War II. It's not as long as you think it was. And those years back then, less happened every year than than the way things happen now. Life was, to say it was slower pace, does not even do it justice. Anyway, every once in a while.
Well, I've told you before, my dad was not a classy guy. And that probably because his mother, she was intermittently classy, but she was really not terribly classy.
Mm-hmm.
And she would, I'd try to take her out to a meal at a nice restaurant, and then she'd kind of embarrass the crap out of me by asking explicitly for ice cubes for her wine. So I learned to not buy her the good wine because she was just going to water it down and screw it up anyway.
The Almadan is a very fine vintage.
Yeah, she
bring us a fresh box.
Today's lunch is brought to you by Box Wine. That's right. Planning a special hen party, a hen do. I think that's one of the greatest pieces of slang from the English. Yeah, to talk about just, a bunch of women having a party as a hen party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really pretty damn. That's pretty damn saucy way to phrase it, I think.
To call it a hen do?
To call it a hen party or a hen do.
Hen do, yeah. Hen do is a very satisfying thing to say. Just phonically, I like it. Hen do. You know, it's kind of like saying hondo.
I don't think it's misogyny either, because men say that, and then women, essentially just assume that all the men are just sitting around man spreading, scratching their testicles, spilling beer all over
Yes,
every
we do.
unprotected surface. Yeah, because that's what we do. We're all just a bunch of savages, and so we both give each other kind of a hard time. But it's meant with love. It's not a problem. People, sometimes people live up to stereotypes.
Well, yeah, until the leftoid Karens come out and then say,
Actually, you're a misogynist for assuming gender norms.
that's why I'm triggered 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
No, that's not why. That's actually not why.
Yeah, no, that's not why.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry about the problem with your dad.
although I think you would probably, I don't know, are you a classic rock person at all?
Oh, like you read about, yeah.
Well, I know you like prog rock and stuff, but
I like classic rock too. I like pop. Harry, I like just about everything, except the really annoying stuff.
well, what about like Bread?
Yeah, Brad.
You're
Sure. David
Bread?
Gates. David Gates is a good musician. He was close to musical genius. Is he still around?
I don't know.
Yeah, David Gates. The guitar man.
Yeah, I mean stuff that my
love
dad
jamming
used to
that
love.
song.
He used to love Bread, and God, what else? Listen to a lot of Don McLean
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jim Croce.
Jim Croce was most interesting to me for his best friend and lead guitarist, Maury Mulison, who was a more interesting guitar player than Jim was. And Jim was a decent guitar player, but Mulison was a real talent. And he did some very interesting things with an acoustic guitar, playing it folk style, but fast with a flat pick. I love some of his riffs that he put on, like Bad Leroy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just listen to what the lead guitar is playing. That's Maury Mulison playing. He was killed on that same plane crash. They went everywhere together.
I think when you're sort of held captive as a kid and there's really no way to get away from it,
Yeah.
and you hear the same stuff over and over again, it
gosh,
gets
yes.
old pretty fast.
Yeah.
I'm much less traumatized about it now than I used to be.
There were things that I listened to and had to listen to that made me crazy. My sister used to play annoying Herman's Hermits type music, and the Monkees. That was the other one. The Monkees, Herman's Hermits, and so forth. And I was absolutely sick of that stuff by the time I went off to college. I was so glad just to get away from that, and wanted to play my rock and roll and my, communist folk music, which I certainly got a chance to for 4 years at Northwestern.
Well,
But anyway, back to
yeah.
the-
Well, anyway, I don't know if you want to talk about more substantial things.
Oh, yes, I suppose that we should. The thing that I thought probably would come up tonight, just because it's such a damn big thing to have happened, is that you have the head of one party in our country trying to put the other one in jail.
Yeah, we avoided that for a very long time.
We did. Usually that's at the beginning of countries, and then they get stable, right? But no, we got prosperous and stable, and now we're going unstable, like a banana republic. I have to believe that some fundamental things are failing. Some fundamental things are failing societally and governmentally. And it's going to kill us. This is going to be the end of us. But what's going to do us in is going to be the currency, because they're going to continue to print money, and eventually there are going to be so many dollars out there, the world is going to say, that's it, you're fired as the reserve currency. We're going to do this basket of things, and you're going to have a minority, a rather small influence on that because you've behaved so irresponsibly. That's coming. And when that comes, you'll see us potentially really put into a weakened and isolated state. I think that's the idea, is to get us addicted to the level of living that we love, with all these international agreements that permit the lifestyle that we can have. Once we're addicted to that, they just say, okay, now you want to continue to live that way. Here are our demands, and those are liable to be onerous. And the people who are going to be making them are the Chinese.
Perhaps. Printing so much money that the value of the dollar drops by 10% in a year is certainly a bad thing, and doing it over and over again is a really bad thing.
Yes.
But we're still not quite at the point where we're looking at 10,000% interest, 10,000% interest, and just
that
really
happens very quickly. That happens very quickly in Germany. That happened in 1 year.
Yeah. Well, you got to really oil up the ball bearings on that printing press to get that kind of speed.
Yeah. No, you just start printing notes written with exponential.
Well,
and when you start putting it up there, and if you need to, go factorial. You can make some really big numbers if you start printing factorial numbers.
Oh, of course. Yeah. If you look at history, every now and then you see sort of an event where you go, I don't think that's such a good idea. Now, if you go back to, what was it? The Tea Party folks, right? Where they were saying some people were saying it was organic, other people were saying it was astroturfing. And it was sort of a populist movement on the right. And even that, to me, any kind of sort of flirting with like a populist mob seems like a bad idea in our democracy. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats have just gone, okay, hold my beer. How about we just light the country on fire for a whole season?
It almost feels that way. It's like the adults have left the building and left the, drunk nannies in charge.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to draw some sort of equivalency. I'm just saying that anything that's sort of like, let's mobilize a populist mob for political reasons is a bad idea. And then, of course, there's bad ideas and then worse ideas and then terrible ideas. Mm-hmm. Really just firing up the printing press and then pitting groups against each other is a terrible idea. We're going to have harmony and unity by essentially scaring the crap out of the people who used to be sort of the dominant group.
What is the answer? How do you take the incentive out for people to pack issues together and then sell them to groups of people and then pack groups of people together into parties and movements in order to gather power for a few people to exercise? How do you break that cycle?
Well, before you can break that cycle, you have to understand what the current incentives are. And I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think...
You mean to be in power?
No. Well, okay. I think that there's a reason why the 7 deadly sins are what they are. Okay. And I suspect...
They're fun.
I suspect that somewhere in the intersection between lust and greed is the answer. Because it's not enough to just win an election and have power and then potentially lose it, and then wait to come back and have it be your turn again. These people are trying to rig the system so that they will be in power forever. And for what? How much risk are they willing to take? Because, you can break the republic doing what they're doing.
They don't
easily.
Believe that's They don't believe that's
They don't
possible.
believe that's possible, but I read all 45 pages of that document about Hillary Clinton's email server, and there is absolutely zero reason other than we don't throw the political opposition in jail in this country that she isn't still in jail.
Right.
She broke so many. She broke, and this is not defending Donald Trump by saying other people do
It's not
bad things.
whataboutism either.
This isn't whataboutism. I'm just saying specifically, historically, we do not throw our political opposition in jail as a means to silence them. If anything, we let them slide on stuff to make sure that we're not those people.
Exactly.
Okay, but
we
oh
err
no,
to the other side, but not anymore.
yeah,
No.
they're talking about Trump like he's Berlusconi. If you want to see what an actual corrupt politician looks like, it was Berlusconi.
Yeah.
You know, a guy you would not want to buy a used hot tub from. You know, Berlusconi. That guy, he was like big time money, corruption, power. I mean, he was a rich guy who got into government and then enjoyed it for all that it was worth. Lots of high class escorts and hot tubs and God knows what else is going. But it was like the fall of Rome kind of stuff that he was doing.
They said that his deal was orgies.
Yeah, I was trying to sort of dance around that.
Jesus Christ, that's the head of a major country.
Yeah, I mean,
he's doing that kind of stuff. My God,
to hear them describe Trump, you know, come on, the espionage. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, really. Seriously.
Do these people really think that the nuclear launch codes are still the same as when Trump was in office? He was just going to sneak out and go, you know, I got nothing but the finest codes right here. You know,
yeah. I changed the 2 S's to 5 so nobody would know.
Yeah, exactly. Just, it so doesn't work that way. It just doesn't.
If people knew just even what the complexity of that stuff is, that really is a complicated deal.
Talking about, there's data there about vulnerabilities of the U.S. military. Have you ever, like, been in a library that deals with that kind of material? It's so much stuff is available just online. You can and you just get a copy of Jane's Fighting Ships and it'll show you the stats on all this crap.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
But they're trying to paint this picture of, oh my God, you know, Trump took some documents with him and it's this huge threat to national security. No, it's not.
Tock says the same cabal has been running the show since Bush Sr. Trump was a hiccup, and it showed the power of the people and it frightened their rule, so they never want it to happen again.
Yep.
There's some truth in that.
Yeah, they're trying to make sure that, well, exactly. They're trying to get rid of that little bug in the system. They thought they had stuff pretty much on lockdown.
Yeah.
And now they're just trying to correct their mistake. You know, if we can, because if he ends up going to jail, then they can put a big asterisk next to his name and they really can pretend like he never was president. They would love that. They would love to make it so that he was technically never president. Like a presidential annulment.
Oh, let's say hello to a couple of people. Shroom is here.
Say hello to all the people, Skep.
Badger is here. I say an equal hello to all the people. Hate Camel is here. Let's see. Badger, Shroom, Frosted Glass is here. Italic. Who else has been dropped by? Costin, of course. Rotten Corpse. Yeah. Kefke's around. Hey, Kefke, give you a hug, baby. And Kiever Dam is here, and I think that's just about everybody. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming out and listening to us. Go on and on about all the things that are right and wrong with the world, and so forth and so on. But it's been yeah, so as we watch our country turn into Banana Republic and, you know, I wonder if they'll publicly execute Trump, if they can arrange it.
You know, people make these comments, these very, I think, irresponsible comments about
hurting people, killing people.
About groups of people. Yeah, I don't want to sound like Tim Pool, you know, sort of the Tim Pool kind of stuff. And I think it's really irresponsible to talk about that sort of thing. If we start throwing the opposition in jail, I don't think it's going to go particularly well. I think there will be Republicans back in charge at some point. And I think that we'll just start throwing everybody in jail. Because, you know, if they throw Trump in jail, as soon as Republicans get back in, it's going to be payback time. There are going to be so many politicians in jail. We're just going to be circling the damn drain is what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. The Democrats have made an attempt that has given them, just based on what we saw in the last election, that when they're down, you know, in the count, they get behind, they, for somehow, some way, have the ability to rally and suddenly produce 150, 200,000 mail-in votes from, you know, who knows where, that are unverifiable, that come in and save the day for them. I think as long as they can do that, as long as they are so superiorly organized to the Republicans, who I have not ever seen do that, and I'm just being complimentary to the Democrats for their prowess at obtaining their votes so completely and so honestly, that as long as they can do that consistently, it may be a stretch to say the Republicans will ever, you know, win another presidential election. They may have that down. They may have that down. They may have the country so convinced that Democrat ideas are better than Republicans that they will continue to fairly win elections for the foreseeable future.
Maybe.
Did I say that right?
I think it will ultimately correct itself, because the more confident they become, the more ridiculous they become.
Yeah,
and also, actually, the same thing happens on the right too. Okay,
yes,
I'm old enough.
Exactly sure.
Don't think for a second that if the moral majority had actually gotten more traction, that they wouldn't have done all kinds of crap that we would almost all be thinking was complete cringe right now.
And I would be reacting the same way I am now.
I don't want
something that made me cringe.
I don't want one party rule.
No, exactly.
California is a perfect example of what happens when you get one party rule.
This is why I want liberty. This is why I want people to have a lot of personal freedom. And if you want to have laws that govern the region that you live in, that there are customs and laws that, you know, pertain to you, that you want enshrined into law, and they're not inconsistent with the basics of running our country, you should be able to do that. That's a better way to live than to have this overbearing federal government that essentially allows you a few minor choices in your routine day to day, and uses many different ways to reduce those choices and to limit you in what you can be, how much you can develop, what kind of life you can have, where you can go, what you can say. I despise that limiting, stifling government. God damn, I hate that thing.
Yeah, I just want them to constantly be in fear of being voted out, and I want them to work constantly to get my vote. I don't want my vote to be taken for granted. And what they really want to do is get things baked into the point where they don't even have to try anymore. They can just be pigs at the trough.
Yes, exactly. Both feet in and ears back.
Well, let me...
hey, Hammer.
Hammer time. So, I'm sure he's never heard that before.
Yeah,
so what do you think of Chris Christie? I mean, I know everybody enjoys making fun of his enormous girth.
No. But he's a really smart guy.
But he is a really smart guy, and the thing I like about him is that he's able to cross party lines and get stuff done when it's in everybody's best interest.
He actually tries to do that too. You know, unlike I was making this point on Twitter about Lindsey Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsey Graham's a, you know, posturing knothead who, you know, talks a good game and then doesn't do anything except preen and, you know, make love to the Democrats. Christie he's a true blue big government Republican. If you like that kind of Republican government with, you know, moderate conservatism and but, you know, healthy relationship between government and business, then he's your guy.
That sounds like DeSantis.
Yeah.
Talk about a healthy relationship between government and business. But
DeSantis doesn't have half of Christie's brain. I'll tell you that right now.
okay. So the thing about Christie is, given his Taft levels of mass,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's been a while since we've had a president who might literally get stuck in a bathtub.
Well,
He's a big dude.
Taft had his own bathtub made for the White House,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. I think what was the joke I made? I said it was really spreading the toes on that clawfoot tub.
Jesus. Clawfoot tub goes, ugh.
But, I mean,
Damn it.
I mean, he's actually, I mean, if you just look at his ideas, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy Jr. is an interesting guy. And again, these are not endorsements. Don't get this wrong, but I'm just looking at, there's a lot of people positioning themselves because this might be a race where both of the incumbents will essentially
damage themselves
to the point where they have to get out of the way. I could easily see Biden and Trump both being out of this race effectively. So why wouldn't you throw your hat into the ring?
Exactly. Kennedy battling Harris for the nomination.
Or Governor Goodhair, what's his name? My stupid governor.
Newsom?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom is definitely he's running hard. This is his shot. I just hope that he has a Beta O'Rourke type experience. Everybody gets to see the fact that this guy is intelligent but evil, and he's charming. Gavin Newsom is almost my archetype for what Satan would actually be like.
Mm-hmm.
And if for those of you who are familiar with the Jim Butcher books, the Harry Dresden novels, he reminds me of Marcone, the hoodlum, the Chicago hoodlum who runs all the mob stuff in Jim Butcher books.
Yeah. Minions of the Zoo is not saying that Gavin Newsom is a mobster, just to be clear.
He's not a mobster, but he has that.
He reminds you of one.
Yeah, he has that oiliness that you know that the honesty that he's apparently displaying is 1/1000th of a centimeter deep. That there is just nothing but calculation and ambition, ego, and I think some anger. I think that's what makes up Gavin Newsom. I think that's mostly what animates him. And anyway, how do go on? Hammer says that slick hair doesn't help. You're not wrong, Hammer. You're not wrong at all, bud.
No, and he always looks like he just got out of the shower. Like, in order to keep the unctuous greasiness of it all under control, they constantly have to just like hose him up with degreaser.
Yeah,
and like we won't notice. It's like no, we can see it coming back like right immediately.
He actually secretes Vitalis.
A pomade. But I mean, personal attacks aside, I think as a political animal, he's a lot more savvy than people give him credit for. Occasionally, somebody will come up to him with some really stupid idea, and he will deftly sort of deflect it. And so he sometimes keeps the single party monopoly of power kind of in check in California.
Mm-hmm.
And not as much as he should, of course, because he's a political animal, but he knows that like he's walking a fine line between keeping the people in California satisfied by signing legislation, but also keeping one eye on the presidency.
Right.
So maybe it's his presidential ambitions that have kept him from being a lot worse.
God. If this is, I don't see how he could be much worse.
Well, okay,
San
so
Francisco is really falling to pieces.
it absolutely is falling to pieces. I told you there's a channel I like called California Insider.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an interview about 3 days ago with a woman who used to be one of the big executives at Levi Strauss and Company in San Francisco. And she was basically talking about why she, pretty much a lifetime San Franciscan with deep roots, finally got the hell out of there because she had to. She's like, I don't even recognize my city anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Because this is not a conservative. This isn't some right wing person. There's a lot of just sort of liberals from 10, 20 years ago. Like I said, the daughter of Joseph Alioto was on there talking about the same kind of thing. You're seeing a lot of sort of 70-year-old politicians and bureaucrats who are retired just going, I don't know what the hell these people are doing. There's a broad awareness that things are very, very messed up here. I just don't want it to spread to the rest of the country.
We need to fix California. We need to fix California.
But all this corruption that we're dealing with, right? So they're making these claims of corruption on Trump. There's people on Twitter who honestly believe the espionage thing. They're sure that he must have made a few extra bucks by selling something, right? And that's just ridiculous. There's no reason for that. Then there's also, the Biden crime family. And this just, the optics of all the Biden stuff are just terrible. Ultimately,
I don't think they're just optics.
Maybe we should just elect Mike Pence because he's the one guy who probably is uncorruptible. I mean, that guy is so straight and so, man, that guy is just like, he's the squarest square that ever squared.
Well, he made he made a lot of money as a talk show host, before he got into politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so his money was made. He can give his patronage to whoever he cares about. He doesn't have enough money to fund his own campaign or anything like that. But he fuck you money.
We're not going to get a sex scandal. We're not going to get a drug scandal. Nobody's going to blackmail him. Just think about how boring those 4 years would be. It feels good, man. Mike Pence. The thing is, I don't think people really want that. I think on some level, people are liking the endorphin rush of all this chaos that's going on. Am I alone in this opinion? That we've all just turned into adrenaline and not just adrenaline. What's the stress hormone? Cortisol and adrenaline junkies. On some level, do you think people are actually enjoying this nonsense on both sides?
Oh God, I hope not. I mean, there are some people who kind of have this attitude. Yeah, man, I just want to see it all burn. But I think most people are much more.
Yeah, you've never been hungry before, have you?
Yeah, exactly.
You've never looked at a zoo animal and tried to decide how much cooking you need to do to kill the parasites.
Exactly.
Yeah. You just think you want it all to burn down.
Yeah. Yeah. Those people will become the prey anyway, post-apocalyptically. The incel hiding down in his parents' basement will be considered a delicacy in the next world. Be hunted like foxes.
Let's see. Pence is a Boy Scout. I don't think he has the savvy for good international policy. He can be outmaneuvered. Oh, entirely possible. I think I was merely commenting on Pence because it might be fun to just have it be boring for 4 years.
Yeah, the thing about Pence is a guy like that is not going to be holding forth much on foreign policy. He's going to listen to his experts and say, what are the issues at hand? What interests does the United States have, and how do we protect those? I think he'll be driven by that sort of thing, but he'll get people who are as conservative and as sober-minded as he is to advise him on those things. I'm not a big fan of Pence because I don't think he's really that smart. I'd like somebody a little bit more intelligent, but Wilson was intelligent. He was a terrible president.
Yeah, I think intelligence for politicians is overrated. I think that being principled and decisive is much more, and hardworking is much more valuable than being intelligent. Obviously, you don't want Steve Shives in there running things, but
no, you don't. But
no,
but it would be so cool to have all those things. Can you?
You don't want Matt Walsh in charge.
No, you don't want God Almighty. You do not want. You don't want Steve Shives. You don't want Matt Walsh. You want a nice, normal person who makes intelligent judgments and doesn't have unrealistic, ideologically driven narratives spinning in their brains that force them into policies that they think are going to change the world and end up just making a hash of things. This is really what the Democrats are doing. They think we're changing things. We're making progress. No, you're not. You're just tearing stuff up, and you're causing pain to a group of people who you feel have oppressed you personally, because it feels good to be oppressed. It feels good to have that kind of power. The other thing is the oppression stack. We have got to disassemble the oppression stack. We have got to treat each other all the same. If we don't do that, we really will fragment. And history is replete with stories of countries, of nations, of alliances that shook themselves apart because they could not get along racially or ethnically, or some other sociological dividing line came in, caused ethnic or racial stratification, or some other cultural-based stratification, and tore the society apart. And that can tear our society apart. I really believe that's a hazard.
I think we have a different problem than that.
What's that?
I think that the real issue is that a group of people have weaponized our otherwise good system to work against itself. Bad actors. If we just got one thing changed, okay, here's an idea that if this idea could take hold, so many things would instantly become better. Okay. The general idea is we ignore and or shun anybody who gets offended or outraged on behalf of somebody else. It's like, if you don't have standing, you can just shut up. We don't need people running around hijacking essentially the narrative or the direction of things based on some sort of whatever it is about some group that they're not concerned with. Standing is something that we need.
Give me an example of the kind of outrage. Give me an occurrence of that kind of outrage that you're talking about, so I know what you mean.
Well, for instance, remember when that young man was being yelled at by that activist, the Native American activist guy, all of the media just dumped on top of him? Mm-hmm. All these people were outraged about his mistreatment.
When he was becoming a multimillionaire, yes.
Yeah, all these people were outraged about his treatment of this Native American person. Mm-hmm. And it's like, to my mind, it's like, wait a second, let's just find out what the Native American person has to say. Yeah. Let the aggrieved party sort of take the lead on this stuff. Let's not all just trip over each other trying to sandbag Sandman, with this sort of online dog pile where everything just gets amplified, because there's no room for any kind of nuance or discussion when it just becomes a huge dog pile of the day. Yeah. Yeah. If we just sort of take a beat, listen to what the aggrieved party has to say, then I think things would be a lot better. This has to do with everything from, racial stuff to, anti-Semitism and all the other sorts of things. I just find that all these people that just want to have attention drawn to themselves by showing how virtuous they are on behalf of somebody else, when they have no standing, if we could just stop that, we just look at these people and we just go, okay, I'm ignoring you because you're an attention-seeking moron. Next. And we just cut off their supply of air, metaphorically speaking. All the discourse would suddenly become so much better overnight if we could just do that one thing. That's not going to fix every problem we have. Yeah. But it's a really simple thing. It's a very simple attitude change that we could do.
I do agree that those people should be shunned. They should just ignore them, just walk away from them. The Karens of the world. I need some muscle over here.
Yeah,
that type of thing. There's no room for that, and I think people might have. Obviously, you're not saying don't be for or against causes or even people. Sometimes people need protecting. If somebody's being attacked, you go over and help them, try and beat the attacker away.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you completely disengage from everyone.
If you want, as soon as you start asking me for my time or my money, you are then drawing me into the conversation and I have standing.
Right.
But up to and until something like that happens, I think a lot of people need to just stay in their damn lane. A lot of people, I had this conversation about 6 years ago with some friends when the whole Confederate flag thing started knocking off. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to them at the time, I said, well, what do you, upper middle class, well-educated IT professionals in Silicon Valley, what does any of this stuff about things that are happening at the South Carolina State House have to do with you? I said, because what I did is I picked up my phone and I at least called a friend of mine who grew up in Alabama and lives in Georgia and knows about the history of the different forms of that flag, and just and ask him about culturally, what does all this stuff mean? Because this is not me making a judgment. I'm just saying, as a guy in California, I had no freaking idea, and I'm certainly not going to listen to the news, but I picked up the phone and I called somebody who actually has some skin in the game and who actually is a smart guy and actually knows his history to find out, okay, so what's the deal? So he kind of broke it down to me about like the pros and cons and how different flags have been used over time. And it is a little more nuanced than most people think. But the idea that anybody in California should lose any sleep over what is a very local matter in another, on the other, 3 time zones away, is preposterous. You don't need to be outraged about things happening at the South Carolina State House. Let the people in South Carolina sort out their own shit. We have other things to worry about, like why we don't have enough nuclear power plants, or securing the border, or all sorts of things that actually affect everybody. I mean, the number of things we actually need to do correctly is fairly small on a national level. Thing 1, take care of the border, right?
Yeah.
Thing 2, energy independence, and a big part of that's going to be nuclear. Okay, we just need to fix the damn nuclear problem, and we need to fix it now.
If you could get the engineering done on this whole fusion thing, that'd be really helpful.
I don't think fusion is going to be the answer anytime soon.
Fusion is the power supply of the future.
No, it's not.
It's been that since I was in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
In 1959.
Yeah, I'm as guilty of that as anything, because sort of that deuterium cycle fusion thing that we talked about, I kept forgetting that you get like 1/10 to 1/50th the yield, and there's still an issue with neutron flux and other things. It's complicated. Fusion is not easy. For one thing, we just don't have the fuel.
Yeah.
We don't have the fuel to drive these things, so it's like, yeah, hypothetically, it would be awesome, except for the fact that we don't have enough fuel to generate the amount of power we need. versus thorium and different types of, fast breeder reactor type things where we essentially make more fuel out of the
making
reaction.
fuel. Yeah.
We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of years worth of fission fuel available.
Yes, that's absolutely.
If we use it wisely, we can go for a very long time. And by that point, we'll have fusion all figured out. We'll have all of that stuff taken care of. But 40 years from now, I'll be very surprised if fusion is a significant part of our energy mix.
Yeah, if I'm around 40 years from now, it would surprise me if fusion, I expect to see the same breathless blurbs that I see in the scientific press that I have seen since I was in the 3rd grade. Important new development, fusion breakthrough right around the corner. 10 years, maybe 5. It's going to take over and provide plentiful, practically free energy for the rest of our lives.
I mean, there's a bunch of other things I do, but like I said, the big ones are energy and the border.
Energy and the border, that's a big one. We need to fix our voting system. We need to fix our voting system, and we need to...
What's wrong with our voting system, Skep? It's perfect in every way.
It is. We just need to fix it even more, so to make it more perfect. And I can't say any more than that because of the Hatch Act. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, just leave it there.
I'm just gonna leave it there, and I'm not gonna get ahead of the president. It's the Hatch Act. I really can't speak to that. No, I'm sorry. I don't have any update for you on that. Got it.
Yeah, I have another.
Is one of the least competent people I've ever seen. Sorry, just had to.
Well, she has I have another thing, but I want to save it for Saturday because I kind of like the discussion of moral quandaries. I think it's interesting to get a bunch of people that are smart that I like together and talk about complicated issues.
Sure.
So I really liked that Libs of TikTok thing that I brought up. And, in a perfect world, we could do 6 of those spanning 2 hours every single Saturday. But that would be a lot of work to come up with those kinds of things. But those are the kinds of things that I sort of like talking about, is stuff where you can really take people that mostly agree about stuff and just start whittling away at a problem in a really fine-grained sort of way. Then you start to see the differences in people's opinions, because even though you and I agree about a lot of stuff, there's stuff we don't agree on.
No, of course not.
You
think
I don't know what it is yet.
You think my idea for UBI is insane. Don't you?
I just don't think it's I don't think it's the time to be doing
you think
that.
We're there yet? Yeah.
If we had a huge overpopulation problem, and so there was a time when I was a kid when I thought, I think we should not have a huge population. We shouldn't just go for 20 billion or bust. What if, in exchange for being sterilized, we gave people some sort of UBI? That wasn't a term that people used back then. But these are the kinds of thoughts that people had in the 70s. This was the sort of thing people would talk about, these sort of Malthusian kind of things.
I'll tell you something. There are going to be a lot of jobs in the next 10 years that go away. Jobs generally, especially in the service sector, are going to shrink. And unemployment of 30-40% is going to be the norm. That's going to be the norm. It'll be that way for about 50 years. And then it'll get worse. It'll actually get worse. It'll get to where having a job means you're part of the aristocracy. Just having a job of any kind you're going to be in the aristocracy. And
that's a possible outcome.
No, I've actually seen the future. This is what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think okay, if you talk,
I'm just supposing this is what I think is going to.
So if you talk, so one of the things in economics that I don't hear people talk about a lot is we talk about how much labor costs, right? So you say this person gets paid this amount because of the economics of the the price of the item, of the widget, and the number of people that consume the widget, and then you look at marginal productivity and you draw the graphs and they intersect and all that sort of stuff.
Incremental cost, blah,
But
blah. Yeah.
The real problem is that if you look at productivity of workers, and as the tools that workers have get better, the productivity per worker keeps increasing. So maybe there's this activity over here that doesn't pay particularly well, and you want to basically pay them what the cost of the item and the sales would generate. But you can't take as much profit as you want, because you know that person could just go work in one of these other professions where the sort of the force multiplier of technology lets them produce so much more stuff. The higher wages in other areas almost always drag up the wages and eat away at the profit margins in other things. Wages don't just fall to the subsistence level across the board. I think what you're going to see is that as stuff becomes more and more mechanized, the value of basic labor will actually increase in some ways, because there's going to be things, because people will start to crave that. People will actually want something that's handmade. It will become a status symbol to have the handmade furniture.
But it sounds like you're trying to forecast demand for those things in the future. What I'm saying is that it's really hard to speculate accurately on that.
Well, I think just looking at productivity increasing and then assuming 40% unemployment, that's one possible scenario, but there's other factors at work.
Yeah.
So
sort of have to understand that what I'm saying is that don't be surprised if you see 40% unemployment.
Yeah. Even now we're starting to see like gardeners and landscapers and stuff. It used to not cost this much money to have landscaping done. Yeah.
Right.
It's because the price of labor in other areas has gone up, and it's pulled the cost of landscaping and other things up with it. Even unskilled labor starts to become more and more expensive because of the productivity that somebody would have if they were in another job.
Yeah. Upward pressure on wages, it comes from a variety of places, and you're right to call that out.
And there's always people who will choose to live on less to do things that they really want to do. You're not going to get rich being a forest ranger, but man, what a great job that would be.
Oh, exactly.
What a fantastic job that would be. Just put on your Mountie hat and your green shirt and just go out into the woods and just be a forest ranger.
Get shot at by the pot farmers.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason why people don't get paid a bunch of money to be a forest ranger. Because it's a freaking awesome job. That's why.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay people a lot of money to be a forest ranger. And that's also why teachers don't make as much money. It's not because what they're doing isn't valuable. It's just because a lot of people find it a satisfying profession, so they go into it. There's no shortage of labor. You don't have to incentivize people to become teachers to the same degree that you have to do them to empty the honey bucket.
How would you fix education? What is one thing you would do to help the education system in America? Because that's another thing that needs attention. The education board is a big problem.
Well, I know what Sanguine would do.
Well, I know what you would do.
A Sanguine solution is basically to throw technology at it. And I think he's partially right. I think the important thing is you have to figure out, when you're looking at the solution of a problem, what are the metrics of success? Mm-hmm. And if you tell me what those metrics look like, I can give you an answer. But the answer changes depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish. For instance, some people would consider equity of outcome to be more important than other things. I mean, I personally think that helping the goal of education should be to help each person sort of individually achieve as much as they can. Whether that makes you the best forest ranger that's ever been, or the best mechanic, or the person who finally comes up with a unified field theory that works. There's not the whole homogenization thing is really terrible. But you have to decide what it is you're trying to accomplish with your education system. If you're just looking for, I want to prepare enough people fit to do the jobs that need to be done, then okay, that's relatively easy. Just have computers teach them. Just do what Scott Adams would do. Just have AI teach them.
Yeah, AI teach them.
It'll be fine because we'll give them exactly the tools that they need to do the jobs, right? But I don't think as a society that's really what's in our best interest.
No.
You know, we want landscapers, and we want plumbers, and we want artists, and we want writers, and we want poets, and we even want a few politicians.
Yep. But I think one of the problems with teachers these days is they start teaching right when they come out of college. I think that's a terrible idea.
Well, they become like teacher's assistant types.
But I truly believe that they should have to go out and either be in military service or go out and have 3 or 4 years of work under their belts of real experience in real life before they would be allowed to go back into teaching and continue to become a teacher. And then maybe after another year of study, when they're 25, 26, then they can start teaching. I think that would help a lot. I really do. Just a little bit of seasoning and maturity in the educators would make a vast difference.
Well, I don't think, I mean, those kinds of things are always good. That's like saying people below the age of 25 shouldn't be able to get married, or you know, you can say if you're going to work in the Department of Labor, if you're going to work in the Department of Labor, you have to have at least spend a certain amount of time in the labor force, right? And you come up with these kinds of rules all the time, and the purpose of them is so they have relevant experience, you know, which builds up empathy and understanding. Right, and of course, that would make you a better, more qualified person.
They also learn how to solve problems, and they are able to teach that to children. One of the big problems that I see with kids, and I've spent a lot of time for the last 20 years, the last 40 years really, with children. The thing that you see again and again is they can't do simple things. There just are holes in their education. They're not being taught important things by their teachers. And I realized over time, the teachers don't know these things either. Teachers never learn these things either. And they're all over the place in terms of maturity. Sometimes you get a good one. Other ones, they're airheads. Some of them think they're still in school.
Well, I mean, I told you that I've taught before, but I did it almost like community service, because the pay was not enough to motivate me. I just sort of felt like I'll give a little back to society by teaching some classes. Yep. And I found it to be pretty rewarding. I think that if you wanted education to work better, they should handle it more on a community basis, and they should definitely bring in more retired people, for example, and people take time off from work to come in and essentially augment the lesson plans. So if you may not be able to fix the teachers, but I'm sure most of those teachers would love to take a day or two off a month that they don't get already. We'll pay them. You can just stay home. We won't even dock your pay. But we're going to bring in, you know, like Christy's dad, and Christy's dad's going to teach you all about quantity surveying. Whatever. You know, I don't even care what it is. Just anything. Just expose the kids to a lot more stuff that actually is real world.
But they consider you to be a harmful influence. They think that only they, the priests of the education process, can administer the education rights to the supplicant children. Okay?
They do think this.
They really do. They absolutely do. And you know.
Well, I dare say I have way more liberal friends than you do, and so I have these conversations, and a lot of conversations I have, I realize, oh, you know about a person who had a thing happen to them, say as a kid, right?
Right.
And so you're trying to re-engineer society to prevent that from happening to anybody else.
Right.
But you're not looking at what does the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Because sometimes the least bad option is still going to have your friend get hurt.
Yeah.
And that is not a fun thing to think of. That's why we were talking about, should the smart people be in charge? The smart people should be advisors to the people in charge.
Right.
People with less neuroticism and more self-confidence and are probably the people who should make the final decisions.
Yes.
The smart people's job is to clearly communicate what they know so that people who are stronger psychologically can make the decisions.
Well said. Well said.
Just paraphrasing Heinlein. I mean, this is really Starship Troopers all over again.
I was going to say that's his chief of staff speech in Starship Troopers. But yeah, and Heinlein understood the naval paradigm precisely, being as he went to the Naval Academy, was a graduate there, caught tuberculosis and was permanently disabled. They back then, when you were disabled in the Navy, you know what they did? They fired you. They said, "Good luck." So he said, "Well, I got to do something for a living. I'll start selling my stories for pennies a word."
Well, do people on ships in peacetime have enough downtime that they can really do stuff like start writing?
No.
No, it's not an entirely stupid question. I don't know how long the shifts are. I mean, if you're running, are you running 3 8-hour shifts or 2 12-hour shifts?
There's no shifts on a ship.
Well, there's got to be shifts, otherwise people can't share bunks.
No, there are watches. Okay.
Oh, they're watches. Okay.
But they're not.
Don't
shifts.
linguistic
They're not.
me.
They're not. Well, they're not shifts because they're different from work. And this, I had to clear this up on the Star Trek stream. Everybody thinks that standing a bridge watch that's your job. What's your job? Well, I'm a navigator. I sit at the helm, and when I wake up and go to work, I sit at the helm all day and I steer the ship. No, that's not how that works. That isn't how that works at all. The way that works is that you have some machinist mate who's just come off a 12-hour shift in engineering, and he's got watch because his duty section is up, and you're standing 1 and 3. So it means that the ship's company is divided into 3 sections, and every third day, your section is on watch, which means you have 8 extra hours, 4 to 8 extra hours of work on top of your 12-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sea duty's like. I'm really not exaggerating. Anybody who has been to sea will back me up on this.
So when you want to start doing your writing, you're going to basically have to be out of the Navy.
Yeah. But by and large, you do have downtime from time to time because you've got to have sleep, and there are natural downtimes that occur when all of a sudden you have to wait for all this other stuff to happen, and this other stuff is done, and you have this hole. And sometimes these miraculous vacuums of time appear, and you know what you do? You go straight to your stateroom and go right to your rack because you don't know when you'll sleep again. At least I did.
Yep, makes sense. I think the reason Thorne Smith was able to get so much writing done when he was in the Navy was the same reason that they politely asked him to leave at some point.
Well, what did he do in the?
Oh, he was enlisted. He was in the Navy, and like I said, they politely asked him to leave. He wasn't injured. He just wasn't a very good sailor.
Well, anyway, I'm giving you kind of the officer's perspective. Officers are just always in motion. They are. The enlisted men actually do have downtime. They actually have a lounge that they can go to and kick back, and they have time to write letters home and stuff like that. And they're a little bit more specialized And so if you're not doing like extra drilling for whatever reason, there's always reasons for extra drills. They'll have some slack time. But officers at sea, no, the slack time you have, you're in your rack.
Well, yeah.
You'll get to sleep maybe an average of 5 or 6 hours a night.
Yeah, you're not making a good case for recruiting.
It's hard.
You got to private Benjamin this. You got to private Benjamin this up a little bit.
Well, the good things is that the Navy went crazy just before I got in, and I'm so glad they did this, and decided they were going to have the best food on earth. And they redid their whole food service system, and the food in the Navy is outstanding. It's really good, and they teach you how to cook like a gourmet for 300 people at a time. It's really something to see. I was a food service officer the last little bit of my time aboard the Kansas City, and it was just a miracle to see 1,500 rations come together every day for our crew.
Well, it's a floating city.
It is very much so.
The desk that I'm sitting at was actually made in the wood shop or the carpentry shop or whatever they called it on my grandfather's ship. It's mahogany that they sourced in the Pacific and made him a desk, and he took this desk with him when he left.
They made him a desk in the machine shop?
Not the machine shop. They had an actual wood shop there where they made furniture and stuff on the ship.
Yeah.
And this desk I'm sitting at was made on a Navy ship.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sometime you'll have to take a picture of that desk and share it with me. I would love to see that desk.
I need to refinish it, and as soon as I do, I will be very proud, and I will send you a picture.
Yeah, dude. I would love to.
It's one of my many projects. I have some other pieces of furniture as well that are mahogany, from a similar sort of lineage. So I've heard from him and multiple other people that the food on submarines was quite good further back than
even
what you're talking about.
As good as the. Well, actually, it was. This was all about the submarines. All right, I wasn't going to tell the whole story, but here's how this all came about. So the Navy Food Service Systems office is headed up by a 1-star admiral, and this guy named Admiral Ney took over and decided that he was going to revamp food service. And he said, "Why can't everybody eat as well as the sailors on the subs do?" And everybody said, "Well, because the subs ration credit is larger and all this other stuff." And he said, "I don't think that's it." And he did a bunch of research and put together a system of devising an accounting system that made sense, that would control costs but allow substantial discretion about the kinds of meals that could be prepared. Really revolutionized the food service system and introduced the idea that low quality food was not acceptable. And when I was taught to inspect food, that's the way I was trained, was to look for quality in whatever we were preparing for people. As a result, the food in the Navy, I got out in '79, so give me a break. But in 1979, it was outstanding, really was.
I still remember when I was a kid, and my grandfather, we'd have the dog, and he'd try to train the dog not, to wait, right? And so the way he'd do it is he'd put down 2 treats. And well, he put down a treat, and then the key word is he would just, if the dog was about to eat it, he'd go Army chow, Army chow, Army chow, and then as soon as he said Navy chow, the dog would eat the treat.
That's cruel. We do without dogs and kids to amuse us.
So Assassin's talking about how they sent all the crap food to the U.S. Army. Yeah, they did, but it's all been approved by the food geniuses at the Natick Research Center. Assassin. So you know that they've autoclaved every microbe out of it and denatured it before they shoved it in an aluminum pouch with some sort of special pouch seasoning. I'm not sure. I've tried as a curiosity, I tried a bunch of MREs, and you never see an adult man look so triggered as when you show up with like an MRE pouch. You'd think it was made of kryptonite, or like they were vampires and you had like a wooden cross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those poor bastards. Some of that army food is just vile.
Just vile. Absolutely.
Just vile.
Just vile. Hey, I wanted to go back to one quick thing that Hammer said. He said, didn't TNG Trek have a 4-shift rotation except when Jellicoe was in charge? Yeah, that was the thing. The hard ass took down the 1 and 4 duty section and made it a 1 and 3, so that instead of getting extra duty basically once every 4 days, you now got it once every 3 days when Jellicoe was in charge. That's correct.
Yeah.
Good callback. Good memory. Very, very good.
Yeah, I can still remember that guy's face. Very, very punchable face.
Very punchable face. What we need Prospero and her whatever that word is in German for having a punchable face. It's a. I wonder if I can get that. I wonder if I can figure that out. Let's see. If I enter punchable face, punchable punch.
Ronnie Cox, yeah.
Face, and go in German.
See, over 2/3 of the MRE entrees are either vegetarian or Mexican. The army is not made of vegans or Mexicans. Yeah, there's so much overlap with the MREs and the humanitarian daily rations. The HDRs are the ones that they essentially, America's here to liberate you. Oh, here, a starving person, have food. And so since we don't know what kind of people are going to end up eating it, we just go for the lowest common denominator and say, here's some lima beans, have a nice time. And so we just hand them stuff that's that won't offend anybody, which means it won't interest anybody. And so because they want to make it easier on the troops, they've sort of really screwed up a lot of the MRE menus.
Yeah, the MREs they're just sad. The
ones in the pouch are pretty bad, but the LRP rations aren't so bad, or the first strike rations aren't so bad.
Yeah, I know that some of them aren't too bad. I mean, the thing is that food is there to keep you alive, energized, and capable of carrying the battle. That's all it's there for. It's
would you like some caffeine in the applesauce? Yes, I would.
Yes, please, thanks.
I'll have some caffeinated gum with that.
I'll tell you what.
There's a lot of shit in there to keep you alert and alive.
Well, that's the thing. Alert soldiers tend to be alive soldiers. It's too bad. Backpfeifengesicht. She says it differently. Backpfeifengesicht. That's the German word for. Germans have a unique word for that face. A face that is badly in need of a fist. Backpfeifengesicht. And yeah, Backpfeif means punch or slap, and Gesicht means face. So there you go.
But the guys at Natick are not, they're not complete idiots. The idea that you can essentially drop food out of an airplane and have a parachute open and have pallets of food drop. And even when they don't have trained chefs, they've got some of these, they're larger than the squad size ones, but they're like a big box. You pretty much just sort of pull a line out of it and it starts a chemical reaction, and an entire meal for a large group of people just gets heated.
Yes. So
you're in the middle of, well, basically you're not right on the front lines. You're kind of behind the front lines a little bit, and you're getting to eat a hot meal that's way better than going hungry. I mean, it's not for lack of trying. It's just that it's a really hard problem. And the MRE pizza is nasty.
Yeah, the MRE pizza. I've never had that, but I've heard that it's awful.
It's not pizza.
It's not pizza.
It's not pizza.
Not as commonly defined.
Yeah, it's all the MRE bread stuff is just really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bread's hard, okay?
It is.
And good bread is really hard.
Oh, that's right. I have to do a bread thing.
Remember your bread thing.
Yeah. Can you talk for 2 minutes without me and I'll be right back?
Of course I can. I
Okay.
will speak with chat. So guys in chat, thank you guys for coming out here tonight. This is fun. See, Peter is here. And I think I already said hello to everybody else that I see in stream. Assassin, Rotten Corpse, Hammerkeeper Dam. Got a good crowd tonight. It's fun to have you guys here. Peter, how you doing? Nice to have you with us. So anyway, I was having a bit of fun earlier this evening with ChatGPT and teasing it about the Legend of Zelda and asking it if it was, is there evidence that it is the greatest game that's ever been produced by man, and trying to run ChatGPT around in circles, having great fun with that. And I wonder if it makes sense. Let's call up some ChatGPT right now and have a little bit of fun with it. I'll share this out as a window, and we can have a bit of fun with good old ChatGPT. It'll be great, trust me. And here we go. ChatGPT, and we share that. All right. Now, what should I ask? What should I ask ChatGPT? Chat, you tell me. What should I ask ChatGPT? What would be a good thing to ask ChatGPT? What makes sense? Johnny Hellcat, I just finished my stepdaughter's floor and I am partially intoxicated. It sounds as though you ate your stepdaughter's floor or drank it and you're partially intoxicated. It's nice to see you, Johnny. All right. Let's ask ChatGPT about MREs. What is an
Oh God, ChatGPT.
MRE. MRE. MRE.
I didn't just wake up one morning and think I wanted to punish myself. I was trying to learn everything I could about food preservation.
Mm-hmm.
And, living in earthquake country, it seemed like a good idea. And so I learned everything I could about food preservation, including MREs and shelf-stable foods and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the best thing you can do in terms of being an earthquake country and preparing is just learn how to function without eating all the damn time.
Yeah.
Since I only eat once a day,
yes,
my life has gotten so much simpler. And people say, how do you do that? You just train yourself.
You just do it.
You just do it. It's not that hard even.
Brenda and I have been eating that way for years. And we just, the idea of eating 3 meals a day just seems weird to me now.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been doing this for years and years, Eric. Really, truly. Like at least 10 years.
Hey, which is the future, Star Trek or Star Wars?
No.
Solar babies. Look it up. Okay, so what is ChatGPT telling you?
Okay, so ChatGPT was jump back into my. There we are. Meals ready to eat is a type of packaged food that is designed to be consumed by military personnel in situations where traditional cooking facilities are not available. They are self-contained meals that typically come in flexible pouches or containers containing a variety of food items such as main courses, side dishes, snacks, desserts, beverages. They are designed to be lightweight, easily transportable, and have a long shelf life. They are specifically formulated to provide balanced nutrition, blah, blah, blah. Sounds like a PR release for MREs. They can be eaten cold, but they also come with heating elements that allow the food to be warmed up. While initially developed for military use, MREs have found applications in emergency preparedness, outdoor activities, and disaster relief, blah, 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 so forth and so on. So just absolutely stuff. So let's say, is there anything sinister about MREs? Let's get a nice question like that. No, there's nothing inherently sinister about MREs.
Inherently sinister?
Inherently? So is it implicit? They're simply bad food. I understand that the MREs are haunted. I apologize, but the notion that MREs are haunted is not based on any factual information or its widely accepted belief. MREs are packaged food rations designed for practicality, blah, blah, blah. Claims of MREs being haunted or possessing supernatural properties are likely to be based on myths, urban legends, or fictional storytelling rather than verifiable evidence. It's important to distinguish between factual information. They are haunted by aliens. This was confirmed last week. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you're amused.
All right, now that I've taken this in a completely silly way, this is about what you can do with Chat GPT. You can have this kind of fun with it, but in point of fact, it gives depressingly ordinary associations, and they're frequently wrong. So I'm actually at the point where I just send it irrational things and try and get it to do something interesting. Because in point of fact, I've spent a lot of time with this, and I'm a little bit disappointed with ChatGPT. It's a bit locked down for me.
Yes.
Have you messed with it at all?
A little bit. I actually have something that I generated on Saturday, which I forgot to show. I'm going to show it on the coming Saturday.
Oh, okay. So I guess we'll be talking more about that.
So here's here. I don't remember which year this is for, but can you make me full screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, so here is a French MRE menu just to give you a little bit of comparison. So you can have, for your main courses, you can have chicken and jelly, salmon pate, mackerel pate, canned beef, tuna and sauce, fish pate, mackerels and sauce, duck pate, liver pate, pork pate with mushrooms, pork and ham pate, pork pate. And your side dishes are actually pretty lovely. You can have shepherd's pie, salmon with rice and vegetables, saute of rabbit.
Damn.
Stewed veal moreno. There's a reason why when international troops get together and they trade MREs, there's an exchange ratio. And I think even the British are like 3-1 with the French, and the British menu is way better in terms of being spoiled than the American menu is.
The thing is, I'm really kind of interested in this in a professional sense. How do they get these subtle tastes to hold out?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Skep, because since what I do is when I get interested in something, I study it to death, I can actually answer that question.
Oh, please.
The French make much greater use of over-the-counter things. So more of the French MRE is actually composed of things that you could buy in a supermarket as a civilian. So what you find is that their shelf life is actually substantially less.
Okay.
So the shelf life on these MREs is closer to 3 years.
Yeah.
Whereas the American ones, if they're properly stored, and I mean really properly stored, you can get 10 years out of them.
10 years. Right.
It depends on temperature and everything else. So the American ones are, we're going to push these out the back of a C5 and we want most of them not to break.
Right.
You know, the French ones, you'd have a lot of cans of pate that would be dented.
Yes.
It's almost more like they're going camping, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mummy, could you pack me a dinner? I'm going camping with my friends. I might become a bit peckish at night.
Yes.
Well, just here, take along this little can of beef and carrots.
Oh, that Russian soldier shot my liver pate right out of my fork.
Yeah. And the up until just recently, the English still had a brandy ration in a number of their MREs, and I think the French still occasionally have a small alcohol ration.
Did you know that U.S. sailors have an alcohol ration? You didn't know about this, did you?
Well, they used to get an alcohol ration of rum in the English Navy. I don't know about the American one.
The American Navy gets you get a ration of grog. Now, this grog comes in the form of a beer. When you have been out at sea, I believe for 3 weeks, but it might be 4 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks. If you've been out at sea for 3 weeks, and I was the one who kept the beer, by the way, in a locked storeroom, a locked refrigerated storeroom. And I had a few, cases of beer in there. And when you were out at sea for 4 weeks, you would, or 3 weeks, you would break out a case of beer, and all the guys on the ship would line up, and each one gets one 12-ounce can of beer.
Wow.
What do you think happens?
They save them up and drink them all at once?
Kind of. You're almost there. What happens?
I don't know.
A market develops, doesn't it?
Oh, well, yeah.
Because some guys like to drink more than others. Some guys like money more than others. And some guys like alcohol more than money. What do you think happens? Well, guys start selling their beers to other guys.
Revealed preference is what happens.
There are always two guys. It's always two who get shit-faced drunk and basically have to be confined to their bunk till they sober up. It's like a tradition. Anyway, they always get written up and go half pay for a month or so.
It just has all French MREs come with a white flag. No, that's either a tablecloth or a napkin, depending on size. But it can double.
It can double.
It could double as a surrender flag.
That's right. Cheese eating surrender monkeys. That's a very apt sobriquet for our French friends who.
Okay, we probably should not whole screen this anymore, just because it'll confuse the hell out of people. Anybody showing, we don't want this to be the thumbnail for the show.
Oh man. No,
if anybody's actually interested in this topic, there's a website called mreinfo.com, and it's mreinfo.com, and they have a bunch of interesting stuff about MREs, both domestic and international there.
Wow, mreinfo.com. You can buy MREs, you can contact MREs, you can other U.S. rations, you can civilian MRE links, forums. God, this is like MRE Central.
It's the MRE enthusiasts website where you can LARP at being a soldier, I guess.
Okay.
Speaking of which, there is a whole market in people making, for reenactors, trying to make sort of period appropriate MRE type things.
Interesting.
So you can get the
like,
full, so it's like,
the
new
Vietnam
hardtack
experience.
now fortified with 5% weevil.
Right. Exactly. Oh man. What was the biscuit that the British soldiers?
Oh, there's so many famous biscuits. The Anzac biscuit, and there's a bunch of other ones. I can't remember what the British one was.
Yeah, I can't remember the British one.
I mean, other than hardtack going way back.
Yeah, but yeah, I was thinking of. Anyway, it's not important, but yeah, food's gotten better over the years. The food in the U.S. Navy is about as good as food gets, generally. I mean, it's just superior, and that's just a thing with them. At least it was when I got out. I hope it's still that way. I would imagine it's a creature comfort, and those seem to have gotten better. I'm actually concerned about the condition of our military.
Yep.
The leaders do not sound like leaders to me.
No.
When I hear the general of the army say, I want to find out more about white rage, and look like a man who is just beaten, that's not a healthy army.
Yeah, this isn't how he thought it was going to turn out. He's just just struggling to make the commander-in-chief happy.
That's it. He was told that he would do this, or his career, everything he's ever thought about would be over, and so he did that. He's different. I've heard Millie enough now to believe that he's more of the cut of the new army. I don't think he's not George Patton. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I mean, who says struggle sessions don't work?
Yes, you're right. Struggle sessions always work. They make us better by helping us to understand that everybody's better than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of world we want to live in. We're never going to get to utopia unless we embrace the struggle.
We must embrace the struggle, and we must sterilize imperfections.
Jenna just showed up in the chat. She wants to know how much longer we're going to be doing this.
Oh, Jenna, come on and join us. I put the link in your DM. Come on over. We'll at least stay up for a few more minutes. I don't know how much longer we're going to go. Harry and I are just kind of chewing the fat with whoever shows up. So we'd love to see you though. If you want, just pop in. And good, she said she will.
Incoming,
Jenna, incoming. So
yeah, she can tell us about what's going on in Rhode Island, E-Town.
So you evidently, have you heard anything about this fire thing? That Quebec's on fire, or some Canada's on fire, and the smoke is sweeping down into the United States.
Wasn't there? I'm trying to remember who did the song "Babies on Fire."
Babies on fire.
Was it Throbbing Gristle? No, there's a song, Babies on Fire.
Babies on...
You said you liked classic rock. Babies on Fire, Better Throw Her in the Water. Yeah, I think it's Throbbing Gristle.
It's Group Baby. Let's see. Babiesonfire.com. This is fun. There's a coffee shop called Babies on Fire.
Nice. Yeah, I have
in
heard
Baltimore.
I have heard something about that. The people have been talking about these fires, and they like to bring up the cause of the fire as if that's the important thing. Because, well, we wouldn't have these fires if people didn't start them. Well, eventually lightning would just start them, and then you'd have another mega fire. I think I think focusing on the causes of the fires is a lot less productive than focusing on the condition of the forest, because not focusing on the cause of the fires is like buying more hard disk and then not paying attention to data retention, because eventually you're just going to run out of disk if you don't have a plan for managing your data.
No,
and eventually lightning will strike and there will be a fire and it will be even more monumental.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have, like, imagine that you could, like, burn some of the undergrowth in a controlled way, so you could supervise the burn and then, carefully put it out, but relieve some of that, potential energy pressure that kind of builds up with all the deadfall and whatnot. So as to keep these, tremendous wildfires that, basically catch up on all the clearing that needs to be done. Forests are going to clear themselves whether you like it or not. They can do it in a big fire all at once, and you can get your feathers in tizzy, or you can clean it out yourself with little tiny fires. But you have to devote the effort to that, and you have to be able to sell it to the population that these little fires are good, and these are ignorant people who think fire bad, fire forest bad. They can't imagine that fire could be used to benefit a forest. Their minds simply are not big enough to accept that.
Well, for people who don't want to, it's not just a job, it's an adventure. There are things like conservation corps, and you absolutely could send humans into the woods and have them, selectively clear out a lot of this brush, carry it out, and then we could burn that in a more controlled fashion too, rather than lighting the entire forest on fire in pieces. That might prove difficult. So for places where you can't do controlled burns, you can clear and then you can burn separately. But forest management is a thing that you just have to do, or you just live with mega fires that happen occasionally. It's going to burn one way or the other. The only question is, do you want to burn it a little bit at a time, or do you want to have it burn all at once and then blanket the entire East Coast with smoke?
Smoke, yeah. And that was the question I was driving.
Is Jenna ready to come in yet?
Oh, Jenna, are you there yet? Wait a minute, I haven't been looking. Jenna, are you there? No, she's still not there.
Okay.
So
yeah, she's kind of quiet, so you might not notice her.
She is, and she's a shy and self-effacing girl.
Yeah, but I get into these, I get into these conversations with people, and they'll say, "This test account can't receive email," and I say, "Well, have you emptied the mailbox, the inbox for the mail for that user ever?" Right. They go, "No, why should we do that?" Well, because mail by default has a limit to how much stuff it'll put in your inbox. Oh, really? Can't you just make that limit bigger? I could. And then the problem would happen if I make it twice as big, the problem will take twice as long to occur and it'll be twice as big to clean up. Or you could just do the responsible thing and set up a cron job or something that deletes messages more than a certain number of days old. Well, can't the people who run the system fix that? Why? It's your stupid test account. Fix it yourself. I'm not very nice sometimes.
No, well, you're just tired.
Well, I have like big important projects to work on, and then I get people nagging me about stupid stuff. And it's like, I'm not going to do your job for you. I'll tell you what you need to do, but I'm not going to do your job for you.
Will you punch the keys for me?
I'm helpful and friendly. Here, let me show solidarity.
Do not become the
yeah. I'm among seals.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi. I can't get my head
You can't get your headphones on? Is that what you're saying?
to work.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. I need to turn off a fan to be able to hear you better.
You sound good. How you feeling?
Yeah, it's my MacBook. For some reason the headphones wouldn't connect, so the MacBook has a pretty good microphone.
Your accent's changed more to a New Jersey accent.
And I found how to turn the volume up. Woohoo!
I just want to see if people listen to me. Clearly not.
Sorry, I'm
Why is Tyler
Harry is
gross?
such a child.
just easily abused.
Do not pick on my first baby, all right? That is my sea lion, Tyler. That my cousin actually named one of her sons Tyler because she remembered me talking about Tyler the sea lion, and she actually thought she forgot. I don't know, but her son's name is Tyler, and he's named after a great man.
Which great man is that?
Tyler the sea lion that she turned into a man. I don't know.
Probably
I
named
didn't.
after James Tyler.
No, it's after the sea lion.
Mm. You sure?
My cousin is very, very blonde.
Probably wouldn't know much about James Tyler.
The singer?
The president.
Oh, I do know he was a president, just not in recent years. I mean,
No, he was president when I was a little boy.
I was gonna say you were alive for him, but
Yeah,
I was born with Reagan.
Yeah, I was born. This was in the early 1800s.
Yeah, you were born in I believe it was 1776.
Yes, it was, became a vampire in 1793.
No, you just have really good genes. I've seen your dad.
Absolutely, it's funny. Yeah, need to catch up with Dad. I haven't talked to him in a month or two. See how he's doing down there. He was doing well last time I caught up with him. 95 years old, chugging along. Be 96 on Halloween.
He was born on Halloween.
He was born on Halloween.
As someone that was born near Christmas, were his parties always Halloween? Or was that like not something they worried about because
When
stuff?
you didn't have a birthday party exactly, your family might get together and you'd have a birthday cake, and your parents would give you a gift, and that's what he got. He was fortunate enough to grow up in a family, intact family, and but no, they celebrated rather modestly in southern Alabama back in the late 1930s, middle and late 1930s. When
So he was. Did he fight?
Did he fight? He was went to the. He wasn't quite old enough to get into world. He was just a year shy of being old enough to go over and fight. I mean, he was almost 17, and he could have gone over then, but he was he won an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy instead, and they thought the war was going to last for a while, so they thought, well, crank him out. So he went through 4 years at Annapolis, and by the time he got
That's
out, the
awesome.
war was over. The
What
war
about
was over.
the Korean and the
Yeah, he was in during the Korean War. I mean, he was an engineer, of course. He was, getting advanced degrees at University of Michigan during the Korean War. He didn't go over to Korea and fight or anything like that, even though he was an officer in the Air Force at the time. He was serving stateside, and he was helping design wind tunnels and airplanes and computers. That's what he did.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool that he not only was an accomplished man, but
It's interesting parallel between Dad and me. It's something we have in common. He he was the second to last class to get to wear the National Defense Ribbon for World War II. I was the second last class at OCS to get to wear the National Defense Ribbon for Vietnam. So we both, Dad and I both like to enter the military just at the end of wars.
my uncle
It's our strategy.
got credit for being in the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
He signed up the last day. He signed up, and the next day the war ended, but he got credit.
Right. That's kind of what happened to me. I was in June 28th, and anybody who was in by the end of July got to wear the National Defense Ribbon, what you call getting credit. That's you get to wear this red and yellow ribbon, and it's a medal, and it just says that you were in the military during wartime. And so that's all that is. But yeah. Anyway, so what have you been doing for fun, Jenna?
I've been going through some medical tests. I guess alien they probe. That's not fun. But
Yeah.
the kids did their last week of school.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday, my best friend since 6th grade came down,
Yay.
and she and I just hung out together. We ditched her kids, we ditched my kids, and I know that sounds mean, but you need adult time. And they gave me an accidental lobster at Arnold's. I ordered steamers because they were cheaper than the lobster, and they called my name, and I was like, I didn't order a lobster. We have you as. I was like, well, I didn't pay for it, so I can't take it. And they're like, they looked at my ticket and they're like, sure, you paid for it. I was like, no, I didn't. And the person that was standing next to me getting their tray went, why you argue with them? Take the lobster. And I was like, I didn't pay for it.
Right.
So then I offered to pay for the rest of it. And they're like, just take the lobster. So I took it.
Take the damn lobster.
We cooked it. It's yours.
How do they cook lobsters up there?
You don't know how to cook a lobster?
I know how to cook a lobster. How do they cook lobsters up there?
Well, you put it into the boiling water. They don't do the knife with the head because you can't serve that really.
Yeah.
So they just put it into the boiling water.
Mm.
And it doesn't take that long to cook.
No, it doesn't. You can
I
grill
will tell
it.
you.
Did you know you can grill lobster?
Yes, you can, and it's just delicious. I like it grilled.
Wonderful.
I love the way our Japanese hibachi place does it. I've never met a lobster I don't like.
I've had some lobster that's been over grilled. It's easy to overcook it. Cooks a lot faster than you think it does. At least that's been my experience. In fact, that's my experience with fish generally. I tend to underestimate how fast it cooks.
Are we going to get canceled if I make fun of very large women working out?
No. I'll make fat people making out.
I want the radium foot warmer. The necessity of every rural male character. Healthy at any size, Harry. Healthy at any size.
Is that lady wearing a shirt?
Of course she is.
I have to yell at Gray for a second. I know it's a bug, but add some butter and it's the most delicious bug you'll ever eat.
Okay. Only
Cookie.
cowards carry.
Yeah.
So is that a place where you can get your knife from? If you don't have a knife, you can get a knife.
Is it the royal knife receptacle or knife?
The
Yeah,
knife
I don't know.
armory?
Yeah.
Armory.
I'm more thinking about, do you think they'll get sued for using Cookie Monster's face?
I don't know. They seem pretty well armed to defend themselves if they do.
Good God. Knife. You know, and now that these idiots in Britain have banned all the handguns, effectively taking handguns out of the away from everyone. Now they have stabbing problem in London.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cocaine tooth drops. Those are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They always put me in such a good mood for a few minutes. And then I need more. Boy, I have the toothaches all the time. Toothaches are getting worse.
Great grandfather. I had a toothache when I was younger. My calf. Harry.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
The power of Chrysler compels you. Oh, for some reason, I just have this picture of armored skeptic saying the power of Chrysler compels you. I think that would be great.
Oh, you want to know what I did today?
Yes, we do.
I got new luggage. 50% off plus 15. Because Jamie and I are going away from the little folk.
Yay. How long?
A week. And then we're going to Nebraska to see my dad with the kids.
That'll be fun.
My dad's home every third week, but
Mm-hmm.
we want to see where he's working and the plant and stuff.
You gonna fly out to Nebraska?
I have been cleared to take a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they'll think I'll survive, but because let her live is what my pulmonologist said. Oh, the tail. Me. What's up with the deviled egg next to it?
I don't know. It's on the Concorde, or as you'd call it, the Concord.
The Concord?
The Concord.
The Concord.
Concorde.
What did you want to know about P-Town?
I don't want to know about P-Town. It's just more jokes about you living in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Pride Month. It's a lot of fun down there.
Pride Month in Rhode Island?
In P-Town.
In Providence? Is that what you're talking about?
No, P-Town.
Aren't they the same place?
One is very gay and one is normal gay.
Okay.
P-Town, the end of the Cape.
Yeah, I know, and I got you.
I don't live anywhere near there, people. And every male in my house, including my father, armed. Well, not every, my little kids aren't armed, but my husband is, and he knows how to shoot to kill. In case you get any ideas of coming to my house. Anyone listening, that's not part of, not chat.
Yeah, the
That's
welcome mat doesn't literally mean welcome.
Harry. Did you do that meme?
No.
That's pretty good.
Just because it's
That's a
got
pretty
fish
good
in
meme.
it doesn't mean it's for
Yeah.
me.
Hey, Scott, what's up with the fish in on the that are washing up shore in Houston?
Why haven't I read about that? Fish washing up.
It looked like a bunch of porpoises or whales or something sort of beached themselves. I saw a video of it, but I didn't know the context.
Thousands of dead fish wash up on Texas beaches.
Alert from updates not installed.
Okay.
Alert from updates available.
Stop talking.
Please, you are
Okay.
stopping talking.
Alert
to
from
me.
updates not installed.
No.
Is that Jenna or you, Skep?
Alert from
The-
updates not installed.
It's not me.
Well, it's not me.
The alert from updates. It's me. All right, now
Ah.
it's going.
So, thousands of dead fish wash up on Texas coast. Beach goers urged to steer clear, or they might die too. The fish kill was the result of low dissolved oxygen in the water, which is common in the summer when temperatures rise, according to Texas wildlife. And dead menhaden fish wash up on the shores of the Upper Texas Gulf Course on Friday. And basically, the fish can't breathe underwater, is what the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department said. The fish are, most of them are Gulf menhaden, which are often used as bait fish. Washed up by the thousands, and you see all the carcasses on the beach. The Brazos River empties into the Gulf, and that's where one of the big fish kills were. So it's just a little bit west of the Houston area, on the Gulf there. And let's see, avoid the beach, and I'll bet it smelled great. I always remember the death of the alewives in the spring. All the alewives die and wash up on the beach in Lake Michigan, and about 500 feet from where I slept. And you could boy, the stink. It was just amazing. Nice, hot, humid Chicago day. Smelling the stinking, rotting alewives washed up on the beach, and it looked very much like that. It's a fish kill. And often before a kill event occurs, fish can be seen trying to get oxygen by gulping at the surface of the water early in the morning. This is very similar to the kill events that occur at CNN, where you see fish like Brian Stelter, gaping at the surface, their little mouths trying to suck oxygen in the last moments of their lives, of their professional lives. So there you go. Mass fish kills and massive media deaths. One thing I did notice that was interesting about something that we didn't really talk about, and maybe we could talk about this on Saturday, is the way people get news is really changing. And if you look at the eyes and ears that are on the traditional media like Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, see an interesting thing. You see CNN, their ratings are collapsing. MSNBC is doing substantially better than CNN. They're starting to beat Fox in some of the nightly totals. And from what I can tell, is there may have been a substantial bleed off of viewers from CNN that've gone over to watch MSNBC, and effectively leaving CNN, well positioned to rebuild from scratch, basically. And I think they could have a pretty spectacular fall. I think the days of the traditional media are just about over. I think that they are done.
Yeah.
What do you,
Not
what do
looking
you
good.
guys think?
Not looking good.
I think really it started in 2016 and it's a slow fall from grace, but I don't go to those channels to get my news. Any of them.
Where do you get your news? You get it on demand from the internet. You look at
Yes.
stuff on YouTube, don't you?
Well, not just YouTube. I look at articles and things
Yeah,
like that.
Facebook, websites, other stuff. Sure.
I do not
Many-
go on
many other things.
Facebook.
But other
because-
websites, you go on other websites, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And you go a lot of different places. You don't get spoon-fed news.
I
It's
don't go
gone through
just
a
to-
news department at CNN and has been massaged into a narrative, do you?
Yeah, I don't. I believe in more than one source.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to just one source.
No. You have to have more than one source.
Well, the sauces are very important. I am an Italian.
I do love your. So am I, and I'm
A
just.
source is a source, of course,
So-
of course.
No one can talk to your source's source. That is, of course, unless the source. Yes. Liquefied asbestos in handy pressurized cans for spraying on heating pipes, water pipes. Yeah.
What a miracle of modern technology.
Let me tell you what a problem that was for us in the Navy. Just real quickly, that asbestos lagging, the asbestos that coated everything. When my ship was in the shipyards, that's what they were taking off. They were taking that stuff off the lagging. We were in asbestos dust all day long. It was not a good situation. You tried to stay out of that stuff as much as you could.
Well, yeah, cancer.
Sure, you're just kidding. Oh God, that is so sick. The way that the gruesome way that Schrodinger put it was that in one case the cat lives, in the other case it dies from hydrogen cyanide poisoning. He was specific about that. Did you know that?
My thought
And-
was the cat always died.
Well, the cats always eventually die, I guess. Sooner or later, one position, Schrodinger's cat box qubit only works as long as the cat is alive, right? That's a qubit that would only work once, right, Harry?
Sure.
Well,
Or
so
might only work once. It would
He
work
puts-
until the cat was dead.
the
Yeah.
cat in the box. But have you ever known a cat to hold still when it's captured?
Depends on the cat.
You would know when the cat was dead when the box stopped shaking.
You only
Yeah, that is a
graduated these-
curveball into it. Only graduated, but school was closed half the year.
If those kids could read, they'd be very upset. That is, you know. Yeah, it's funny world we live in. God, that is funny.
I just realized it was a cop's car.
Pulling over a truck full of donuts, yes.
The cop probably walked up and said, I know we both are aware of the irony of this situation.
Walk for once.
Walk
Walk
Force
One.
Walk for one. Oh. I swear I graduated because I could read. And then I went through a windshield.
No, it should have like a little seat in front and have a little girl sitting on the seat so that her hair is right in his face.
Holding an ice cream cone.
Yeah, that'd be a nice touch. God.
What the heck are they doing?
Put some little red LED markers on Gandhi's eyes. So at night,
Oh my gosh!
It's so great.
it just makes googly eyes look like, really not that big a deal. Oh, look,
No.
they put googly eyes on it.
No, this is perfect.
Yep.
This is
Hold my beer.
Oh, I love a good practical joke like that. Something
Yeah.
that's not too harmful.
Didn't hurt
That's
anybody.
nice. No, it didn't hurt anybody. Hey, I'm just about out of voice. I think I'm about done for the night. You guys got anything else?
Just this picture of Skep in college right here.
Show me. Yeah, there I was.
Hide under the desk. I don't know what the desk's gonna protect you from, but hide under your desk. In that suit.
Just some droll college yearbook humor.
Yes. Pipette specialists. Oh man, I remember pipettes.
Good times.
Yeah, just getting really, really tiny amounts of some solvent.
This one's for you, Hammer, if you're still here.
Fibonacci Day, Doctor Who Day. Oh, and I just saw the golden ratio spiral. That's pretty
With
cool.
the Tom Baker scarf.
Right. Yes. That's wonderful. Perfect. Perfection. All right.
Yep.
Well, with thoughts of Fibonacci going through our brain, thank you, chat, for coming out and listening to us. Thank you, my friends, Harry and Jenna, for hanging with me this evening. And good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. The zoo is closed. That's it for it.